Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am just trying to unmute our panelists. Give me a second while we do this. Daman, if you can get Zana and also Rumana on screen, that would be lovely. Hi, Rumana.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. And hi, Zana.
Hi.
And I think we can get started. So welcome back to all our viewers. I think I mentioned this to Zana earlier and also to Katie that, usually documentaries or films on domestic violence kind of shatter oneself, right? And they're so really disheartening. And when I finished watching Untying the Knot, I actually felt hope and courage. And I think it was a large part to Romana's story, of course, and also the other survivors and the stellar job that Zana, you and your team have done. So thank you so much for joining us for this Q&A. And if you didn't see the end of the film, Zana Shammi is the director and also the co-author of the script. And I want to thank both of you for being on the panel and also giving us a chance to screen the documentary. So just before we dive into the questions, a heads up to everyone who is listening into the panel. We would love the opportunity to conduct a very short poll on our program. And if you could stay back as the Q&A is wrapped up, we would be deeply appreciative. It helps improve our programs and it also helps us understand what went well and what, of course, didn't. So I want to start with Zana first. And Zana, I'd love to hear your journey in making this film. I think I read an interview where you talked about a little bit of your inspiration. And the other part, I was wondering, how did you convince Ramana and also some of the fathers and the abusive spouses to get on camera? We'd love to hear that.
First of all, hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I hope you all enjoyed the film. And if you have any question, shoot me or Rumana anytime. Okay, so my journey started a long ago. It started when I first heard about Rumana's this violent attack. I should go back a little bit to give a context. So Rumana and I went to high school together.
Mm.
And so when I first heard about her violent attack, I was in denial, to be honest. And I was naive to believe that domestic violence doesn't happen to us, like educated middle-class family who are like raised in a very protective environment. Like Rumana and we were more or less similar, educated family, and our background, educational background, family upbringing, it's more or less same. So I was in a very denial. And that's when a lot of question raised in my mind that how come this happened to a person I knew from my childhood, right? And then I started digging up information. I started doing research, and I visited Rumana after the incident, and we talked about it. And then I decided.
Zana, you were in Bangladesh that time.
No, I was in Toronto. I moved to Toronto in 2008, and Rumana and we were connected through Facebook, as it happened nowadays, right? We all move with our lives, and then we stayed connected with Facebook. So that's what happened. And Rumana came to Canada at UBC for her master. So we were connected on Facebook. But then when the incident happened, I got to know, and the whole incident shattered me. Like it was such a shock for me that I couldn't believe for a while. And then I started like researching and got to know. I mean, I was aware of domestic violence in my country, my native country, but as I said, that I was naive to believe that this only happened with uneducated, otherwise disempowered women. So that's when I began my research, and I talked with Rumana. We visited back and forth. I went to Bangladesh to do more research, and uh, I realized that Rumana's story need to be told widely.
And you're
So
also a filmmaker, right? Your background is in production and film.
yeah, so
So,
at that time when the incident happened in 2011, I was finishing my film school. I was at the last semester of my film school. So that's when incident happened, and I started working on this project.
and so, Rumana, welcome again. And so, when heard your story right from the point of when you were decided to go back to Bangladesh to get a divorce, and then this horrible, horrific incident happened where your husband assaulted you. But you're a very strong, and you come across you in the film, and from what I've seen of you in the media, you come across as a very strong, determined person. So I was just wondering, before your divorce or before you decided, was there a moment when you realized there was a huge disconnect between what women want, what society, husbands, mothers-in-law, parents want from women in marriages, in personal relationships?
Yeah, totally. First, before I start any answering any questions, thank you for having me. And it's great that you got interested, and then you all felt that this message was important to share. So we are all grateful for that. And yes, there is a huge disconnect because I come from an educated family. My family in which I grew up, it valued education. My grandmother was had a bachelor's degree, so she was a graduate. And still, when I got married and when I saw how my in-laws were treating me and how my ex-husband was treating me, I couldn't get out of it. And just because of the, as you pointed out, like the expectations from a daughter-in-law, from the expectations from a wife. And of course, I was really young. I was just 22 when I got married. And at that time, at that age, I didn't have the understanding, or maybe you can say the wisdom, to think and how I'm gonna face the social stigma if I get a divorce, right? So, of course, my values and principles, nothing, everything told me that get out of it. Inside, I was always screaming, I don't want to be in this marriage, but I couldn't. I couldn't leave the marriage because of the society. So, yeah, so if, and I then later, after this happened, the reason why I shared my story is because I kept thinking that if I couldn't do it, there are so many women who are there and experiencing it. And then if they know that what can be the consequences, and then so that they don't wait until really, really bad happens to them. So if only one woman can think about their situation or their marriage or their abusive relationship and give it a second thought, I would feel that I'm successful, like it was worth sharing my story. And that's when the urge came.
Mm-hmm. So, Zana, when you decided you were going to create this film, and I know you co-wrote it with Katie and also with Lalita.
Lalita.
Yeah. And how how did you go about um, looking for other people, other women who were willing to speak? And I think I alluded to my first question, which was, how did you get there? the father, which was, Latifa's father, right?
Mhm.
On camera saying things which sounded really horrifically appalling, right? And also in Zasmin's case, the husband just
Yeah.
claiming that he just gets a little angry. It's
Mhm.
not a little angry, and they were okay with you recording all of this. And how did you transverse this?
Okay, so first I would like to answer your first question that so when we decided to make a film on Rumana, we were like brainstorming, Lalita, Katie and I, we were constantly brainstorming how can we tell the story in most creative way and most appealing way, right? So at that time we were thinking, how about we'll find out those subject who are dealing with similar situation and challenges so that we can portray Rumana's life through them. So that was our initial brainstorming, and that's how we started doing our like research. And what happened during that time, I have been meeting activists, I have been meeting journalists back home, and like it was like the word got out, right? So that most of my friends and my families, my relatives, they know that I'm working on this project. So a lot of people came to me and shared their stories that I'm really very fortunate in this way. Like they came up to me, they shared their story. But the main challenge was, as you ask, to convince them to say this on camera, right? So this is a film, it's not gonna be like just for one person or two person, it's gonna be worldwide. So that was challenging, but I'm very lucky to have like Jasmine, Sharmeen and Naima. They knew from the very beginning that it's a film and it's gonna be broadcast or screened all through, like all across the globe. And they were agreed. They are like hats off to them that they believed in me and they trust me enough to tell their story. And they are amazing, like courageous women to like share their story on camera. So that's how I found them. And as I mentioned earlier, Rumana is my friend. So we discussed back and forth a lot of times and we agreed to tell her stories. And then the interesting thing, yeah, that is, I got that question a lot, and it is really interesting how I got those men to agree to talk on camera. So the thing is, like, as you saw the way Ajmal reacted, right? His response, he doesn't even think he's doing anything wrong.
Well, and this is the shocking thing. And I've been doing Maitri work for almost over 27 years. I don't know why I get shocked by all these statistics, but recently the UN did a survey of people in 75 countries, and 90% of them showed bias towards women.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, it's so inculcated in the patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
That when people, I think we have the lens, perhaps we are watching it
Mhm.
with the lens of violence against women. Maybe they're not.
No, they're not. That's why. I mean, in a way, I got lucky, but I shouldn't say that. But it's very unfortunate that they don't even think. Like you saw when I asked Charmaine's father, right? And he's so like the way he responded, he knows this is wrong. He was hurting inside, right? His daughter was in pain, his daughter was being abused, but at the same time he mentioned, he agreed that it was his ego, that his daughter married this guy against his will. So even if she died, he's not gonna go to get her, right? So that is such a like egoistic comment, like at that time. But he was hurting inside, he was crying even when he was telling me that thing. But at the same time, he wants her daughter to get married again. He like, that's a very uh, like traditional thought, right? Like women needs to get married, women's to be happy, to be successful. That success is marriage, happily married. That's the definition of successful life for women, right? So
So,
that's how they see it.
in India, they use the word, I don't know in Bangladesh they use it, but in India, they use the word settled. Like you
Oh,
have
yeah,
to be
exactly.
settled, right? As if like you're a flower pot that, you take the plant
Yeah,
and you settle it in the earth.
exactly.
So, Romana, I'm thinking about this. We were seeing on camera Charmin's father. I really had to stop the film when he said, even if she dies, I'm not going to go get her. I had to stop that and think for a minute. I was wondering, how was your immediate circle, your parents, your brother's response to before the attack? I'm very curious to know because I know you went to study in Canada before, and you were attacked by your ex-husband, when you came back to Dhaka. So, what was the reaction of your family when you said you were unhappy and you didn't want to continue in this relationship, in this marriage, and you had a daughter already, right?
Yeah. So, unfortunately for me, I didn't share anything about my abusive relationship or marriage with my parents or anyone. And the reason why I think I didn't share it is because I was scared. And most women who suffer inside and who are in an abusive relationship or marriage, if you ask them, everyone thinks, most of them think that it's a shame for themselves if they share it. That's the first reason. And the second reason, which I can say from my own experience, is that fear that if you share it and if your partner knows about it, that you are sharing this, then they would you don't know like what would happen. You are scared for your life. So I guess that's what happened to me. And then it's called, and I think all of you will know better than me, because I didn't know at that time that I was suffering from a battered woman syndrome. And that was, I completely lost my self esteem. I didn't have any confidence because I was verbally abused all the time, that oh, you are worthless, you can't do anything. And then all these, those the like the partners, the abusive partners, would do that so that their wives never get the confidence back, or the
Mhm.
never get confident, right, to leave them. Again, like it's a male ego, or ego of the patriarchs, I guess. So I don't know, I guess, but those are the two reasons which happened in my life. And then that's one of the reasons why I couldn't share it with my parents.
Were they shattered when you finally told them what was going on in your marriage?
So it came as a shock. It came as a shock, and they knew about it after this attack happened.
Oh my goodness. So you had not told them until you returned to Dhaka
Yeah,
and he physically basically almost killed you.
yes.
Oh
So
my goodness. Oh
they
my goodness.
they didn't know. And then I spoke with a divorce lawyer. I wanted to get a divorce when I returned to Bangladesh, and then get my daughter's custody and bring her back here with me. And that was my plan. And I told him first, I told him that, you deserve to be with someone who loves you, and I can never love you. I tried my best, but it's not fair to you. And then so I want a divorce. So I did tell him that. I didn't know at that time that women are the most vulnerable after they have communicated this to their partner. And he took it really, I thought he took it really well, because he left after this conversation. And within just maybe 2 weeks of this conversation, he attacked me. So that's how it happened. So, and it came as a shock to everyone.
So did they rally around you or did they blame you for not telling them perhaps? Or did they say, well, you shouldn't leave him? Because I noticed this is very typical in abusive relationships. Especially patriarchal societies in the South Asian communities, right? Where people say, well, you shouldn't leave him. If you leave him, the children will suffer, etc., etc. Now, I know in your case, the attack was so horrendous. It's hard to comprehend somebody behaving like that. But I was wondering, did family rally around you at that point and say you should have told us earlier, or how did it go then?
Yes, they did. They were shocked, but my situation was so bad. I was struggling with my health, with my life, and then with my 5-year-old daughter that it wasn't a time for anyone to blame me for anything. They were all trying to support me in a way so that I could get back on my feet again. So that's why I'm grateful to them. But they did say that everyone still tells me that why didn't you tell us anything? My cousins, my extended family, my uncles, my aunts, they all tell me and ask me that why didn't you, if we knew about it. But now I think about it, and I have seen other people who are experiencing abuse, and then when I see what is happening to them, I don't think that, as it's such a horrendous, as you pointed out, horrendous incident, everyone was telling me, why didn't you tell us? But I think if I told anyone before anything like that happened, then everyone, I'm not saying my parents, they were very supportive from the very beginning, but other people in the community, they would say that, oh, there must be, why couldn't she tolerate more? Why couldn't
Adjust, right? Adjustment is the
yeah,
word used, right?
adjustment, yeah. And it's her fault that she couldn't keep her marriage, right?
Yep.
So, and then they would make corner me, and they would kind of, see my daughter in a different way, that, oh, she is the daughter of a divorced mother, and all these things. So, all that, and all of you know very well, because those are kind of cultures in South
Mm-hmm.
Asian people. And Zana was saying in another interview that people don't allow a divorced woman with her child to rent their apartments or house. So because they're just scared of divorced women, right?
I
So
guess,
it's
I guess maybe divorced women develop horns or something in their mind. Insane. I don't know if you guys saw this show, Masaba Masaba, which is about this designer who is a single, a child whose mother was not married to the father. And when in this show, it's just showing the reality for women in India, in particular Bombay, and a city like Bombay, where so she separates from her husband and she's trying to find an apartment. And she's a designer, international designer. Nobody will rent her an apartment because she's single. And, parts of you think, no, this is the 21st century. This can't be happening.
yeah.
And, this was the point I think I wanted to ask Zana also and to you also, Rumana. When Jasmine says this, that she's losing her confidence and all of this happening, and her mother in law justifies this whole idea of where her life is so muted, right?
Mhm.
And it's so subservient and so subjugated to what the husband needs or wants.
And
Yeah.
what the wife's role in this, the whole
Yes,
story, right? Like the way she explains the whole thing, Ajmal's anger, in such a simplified way, right? That Jasmine works, she goes to school, that's why she doesn't cook on time, so he gets hungry, and it
little angry, she said,
yeah. And I
right?
was like, are you kidding me? To be honest, like, I don't know how like, it was so hard for me to control myself, like when I was interviewing them, when she was telling me all this thing, and I was like, you must be kidding, right? Your son, you raise that son, he does, it's his own house, right? It's in a marriage, it's not only wife's responsibility to feed you, to cook for you, to like serve you, right? Like, you cannot just grab food from fridge, or you cannot just go to the kitchen and prepare food.
But then I thought, so I was moving along in the movie, and and the mother-in-law says, well, he likes food on time, and he says, oh, I just get angry. And then you have the recording where Jasmine has recorded him screaming. And
Mm.
I want to tell you the violence of his
Voice, right?
tone and the loudness. I was actually shook up for a second or two. And I'm thinking, this is what his mother is justifying.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it was a very difficult moment. And to go to your point, Romana, when you said you were losing your confidence, and I think that's one of the saddest things in the movie when Jasmine says that I'm losing my self-worth and my self-confidence
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
camera, right?
Hmm.
So how did you, Romana, you came back after the attack, you went through multiple surgeries, you brought your daughter back, you couldn't see anymore. How did you get your self-confidence back?
I guess it started coming back when I first came here, and then I was detached from him. So
Mm,
we were separated, like we were not living in the same room for a long time, and especially after my daughter was born, and at that time when my daughter was 10 months old, my mom had a brain hemorrhage. So I had two very solid reasons, like. Very strong reasons why I could move back with my parents. And so I took that opportunity, I should say, though it was very sad. My mom wasn't doing really well at that time, but I came back, started living with them, and he used to come back and forth. But since I was kind of separated from him, we had, I don't remember that there were phases where we were really happy, or, like we were just going on living like a regular married couple, because I was always separated. We used to sleep in two different rooms. So
mhm.
when I came back and started living with my parents, it was really, I was happy. I guess I could focus on my studies, and that's why I could focus on my career. And the way I got my self confidence back is when I left Bangladesh and came here for higher studies, came to UBC for higher studies. So not being in constant abuse, and it really helped me to gain my confidence back, to rediscover myself. I wasn't the person I used to be. I lost myself. So, and this detachment, that he cannot get hold of me, he cannot come all the way, like that, fly thousands miles and thousands of miles, and then get me here, do anything to me. Though I was scared he would blackmail me from there. With my daughter, he would say that if you don't pick up my calls, or don't call me or keep me up to date, then I will take my daughter away from your parents. And I
Well,
didn't have formal custody at that time, right? So,
children are a huge bargaining chip or a hostage, right? And I think that was one of the struggles that Jasmine had, right? The two boys, they
Yeah.
looked so innocent in the movie. It was just
Hmm.
terribly sad to see that. We have questions from the audience. Actually, we have several questions. So I was going to read some of them out. And so, Grace, thank you so much, Grace, for attending the screening and the panel. So, Grace asks this question: with 75% of women being abused in Bangladesh, how can society change? And this was a question I also have for you, which I've been thinking about. And young children witnessing their fathers or brothers or uncles, verbally and physically abusing family members. This is true of any patriarchal culture, right? It's
Hmm.
not just true to Bangladesh, but we are speaking specifically because the film was shot in Bangladesh. So, um, Rumana or Zana, if you want to take it, would love to hear your thoughts.
I would like to mention that abuse doesn't happen only in Bangladesh. We all know that, right? It happens across the globe. It's happening in US, it's happening in Canada. And the ratio is really alarming, like 3:1, right? So
Mhm.
it's like alarming. So the reason we focus is Rumana was born in Bangladesh, raised in Bangladesh. That's the reason we focused specifically in Bangladesh. So the movement already started. People are speaking up, as you say, as you saw that this Naima and then Sharmeen, they are talking about their life, right? So this is already happening. Change is already happening. Sharmeen had the courage to left. Jasmine is still thinking, but she made her decision very clear, and she was strong enough to tell her husband, like tell Ajmal, that if you ever dare to touch me, I'll call the police. So these are the small achievement. I know the percentage is staggering, it's unbelievable, but change doesn't happen in one day, right? And it's not gonna just jump in. It will be small steps. So baby steps, it's already started. Movement is going on. There is a lot of change happen. The violence against women law are one of the best law in Bangladesh. But the implication and the practice and all those things is the different stories. But the laws, the everything, these are very like in a very great shape, and these are happening. So I am hopeful. Like with that, as you saw in the film, like this is a very hopeful. This is not a, you mentioned, right? This is not a very depressing film. I would like to show the light at the end of the tunnel through this film. So
And
I believe
truly,
the movement is happening.
truly thank you, Sana, for Zana, for thinking about that, because sometimes it's so depressing that we've not moved forward. So I
Mhm.
think there's a question in everyone's minds, Romana, for you, that did your ex-husband ever get convicted? And did he ever, if he was convicted, did he serve a sentence? Because I think we all want justice. I know it's not the justice perhaps that would help you, but you've really achieved an amazing life for yourself. But this is a question from one of the attendees, please.
Yeah, so what happened? He was behind the bars, and we were hoping. I came back with my daughter and my parents 1 month after this attack happened. So when we were here in Canada, we heard that he was behind the bars, waiting for the trial to begin. So it happened in 2011, June 2011, and the trial was supposed to begin January 2012. And when we were kind of, I was preparing to go back and testify. And then in December, early December, December 6th, I guess, December 6th, 2011, we heard this news that while he was waiting for the trial, he died in the prison hospital. So he passed away. And the duty doctor at that time said that it was a cardiac arrest. And his family blamed me, went to the police station to bring charges against me and my family for killing him inside the prison. So it was quite a drama, but that's what happened. So that's with his death, the criminal charges, it became a kind of nullified, right? Because the
Mhm.
person is not alive. But I had to go through like the settlements in the family court, and at that point, it wasn't possible for me to keep it going from here because I was busy
Mhm.
with other things. I was trying to finish my master's, first write the law school admission test, then finish my master's thesis, defend it, starting law school, how I'm going to handle that. So all these were priorities. So at that point, they got away with it very easily because I just didn't ask for any personal injury compensation or anything. I just said, I just want unconditional custody of my daughter. And they agreed because they didn't have to pay for anything.
Mhm. Well, that was, I guess, a closure to a uncomfortable, dragging on for you personally because you had already moved on with your life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And it wasn't possible for me because I was here, and then who would carry on and then, appear in the court and
Mhm,
family court, those cases can go on and on and on. And I knew that it was money would settle everything when I didn't even ask for the money I was supposed to get for the divorce. I just knew that it would be
mhm,
basically will boil down to money. And then when
mhm.
knew it, it was easy for me to make that decision, I guess.
So, Zana, when you decided to do this topic and you're so passionate about it, and Romana, you want to make sure you were heard, how did your families react? This is a question from the audience that how did your families react when you decided to embark on this journey? Because obviously, this journey, as you said, Zana, this is a film which is going to live forever.
Mhm.
It's going to be viewed by people and it's going to outrage people and it's going to cause not notoriety, but visibility for sure, right? So, how did your families react? That would be lovely to hear.
My family was very supportive from the very beginning, and I was uh, like I was known. I am known actually for whatever I want to do. I'm gonna do it anyway, no matter if they are they support me or not. So I'm familiar for that. So I guess that's the reason no one said anything. No one. But my mom was worried that in that case, because I was going back and forth and doing all this research, like meeting activists and talking all these things. So my mom was a bit worried that if anyone hurts me or anything happens to me, right? Because I'm making this film and it might portray that I'm against social patriarchy and all these things. So my mom was a bit worried, but she had been like, I remember I was every day she was so eager to know what did you shoot, what did you find out, and I shared the stories with her, and she was surprised and shocked that like domestic abuse in such a deep level, and she had the same idea. She thought it happened only in like uneducated families. So that in that way she was very supportive, but she just kept saying that be careful, like take all the precaution to stay safe and all this thing. That's all. Other than that, they're very supportive.
Thank
And
you.
for me, I just didn't ask for anyone's permission. I just went ahead. I knew that I need to do it. I needed to do it for my community, which gave me so much, which supported me so much when I needed the support. And I guess I also wanted to do it for my daughter so that she knows. So she was really young at that time. She was just 5. So she needs to know her mom's journey. So that was my point of view. So I just didn't ask for it.
Actually, yeah, Romana, I am fully convinced you will accomplish whatever you want in your life. Your passion, your fierceness, and your determination really are amazing. I mean, you're a role model, and I'm not sucking up to you. I'm just telling you the truth of what I felt when I watched that movie.
Thank you. But
Um,
it really means a lot to me. Thank you.
no, it's we need more role models like this. But I really wish you had not had to go through the torture you did. I'm very sorry about that. It's horrendous. Just shifting gears a little bit, and this is true about not just Bangladesh, but also true about Pakistan, true about India, and Sri Lanka. You know, there's a question from the audience member, so I want to just frame it where we feel in generally we believe that female representation and leadership, can really help marginalized communities or bring equality for women. Now, given the fact that all of the countries I've mentioned have had women leaders. What is your both of you think about what does it mean to have a woman leader? Has it really helped Bangladesh? I don't know. In India, I'm from India, so I can speak to Indian stuff. I really don't see India having progressed much with women's rights. There are laws, but they're not implemented.
Mhm.
But in Bangladesh, do you think having a woman prime minister for almost 30 years has been beneficial?
Uh, I would say a bit maybe, but at the same time, I would like to mention, like, yeah, the opposition leader is female. We have female opposition leader. We have the prime minister is female. Of course, that's a huge thing for a developing country like Bangladesh and a Muslim country. So it's a huge thing for us. But at the same time, we need to dig up more, and we need to understand this women prime minister. She is a daughter of our nation, father of our nation, right? So I don't know how to explain it. Like the way Indira Gandhi, right? So it's like similar. Sheikh Hasina is a daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and then Khalida Zia, the opposition leader, she is a wife of Ziaur Rahman. So they are carrying the patriarchy.
So Indira Gandhi didn't do anything for women in India, and I will just say categorically that, right?
So for Bangladesh, yeah, Sheikh Hasina did a lot. Those the laws and everything, she changed all those things. So I would say in that regards, yeah, we got benefited. I'm not sure how it would have been when it is if it is a male prime minister. Or I'm very confident that because it's a female prime minister, that's why these changes happen more easier way, or more. It's not easier, like more like strongly rather than, or rapidly rather than like dragging it or denying it right away, I don't know if I make sense. I'm trying to just say that it's that's my thought, that's my personal thought. And another thing I should mention, I don't live there, right? So all the information I have, I left country in 2008, so it's been a while. But whatever information I have, that's from my research. It's from the activist I have talked, if whatever I talked from the journalist. So those information I gathered, right? And I saw the changes happening during my research stage, right? What are the changes happening in Bangladesh, right? The different laws coming, and the things are happening, the movement going on. So these are like my opinion. So it's very personal opinion, yes. I would say.
Absolutely. I think the political is personal, right? I mean, you were impacted because you knew Rumana, and so there was an emotional connection, and we got this amazing film. There are about 3 questions on the Q&A session, which actually speak to a question that I wanted to ask you, Rumana. And also, Sana, if you can also please, Zana, also comment on this. I see the conversations that happened in the film, and not so much you, Rumana, but the other women, Naima, Jasmine, Charmin, they talked about wanting respect, wanting love, wanting understanding, right? And I'm wondering if this is because we women have been encouraged to study. Our parents have given us resources. Our minds have been opened up. We have become professional women, and these are our aspirations. So there's a kind of a disconnect happening with the men. The men are sort of in another silo where some of the things they talked about was, you can't do this job, you need to do this job. You can't do this, you need to do this. If I can't say anything to my mother, that's what Charmin's husband said, right? If you can't live with my mother, you need to leave. Yeah. So it's almost like there are 2 halves. There's the female gender. We are all accomplishing. Naima runs, the HR at a 500-person company, and yet she's required to do things which are very against what she's sort of brought herself up to. And I was wondering, Rumana, as you've gone through law school and your master's, have you sort of been thinking about this kind of a disconnect that's happening with men and women now?
I think I want to be hopeful, and then I see that change. My cousins, they share household chores. I see them, and I am very proud. My own brother shares household responsibility, so I see the difference. And but at the same time, you were asking having women leadership. So and Zana was saying that the most, like the strongest and strictest laws are in Bangladesh. So, but there is no enforcement, right? So, an enforcement can only happen if the society changes. And the society will not change if our half of the population, or more than half, I guess, if the male like the male portion of the population don't change. And we talk about allies, right? We talk about allyship. And then any such movement, in any such movement, we cannot exclude men. We need them as our allies. And how can we do that? It needs to come from individual families, as you were saying, that it's a matter of showing, like when we are our sons, when they're growing up, that what the family roles should be, so that they don't grow up seeing that, yeah, both of my parents, they're working, but my after work my mother is coming home and then cooking and preparing dinner for us, and my father is watching TV. So that they don't grow up seeing this and then expect the same from their wives. So I guess that needs to change. And I'm really happy. And then I watch Kaun Banega Crorepati, and I'm really, I'm inspired sometimes when I see contestants who are educated, who are female, who come and then they are saying that how they're educating their sons. So that the son doesn't see grow up seeing that, okay, my mom is always handling the kitchen and my dad cannot cook. So it's not a shame for the men. So as I say, like, so we cannot exclude men and try to bring change. We need to include them. We need them as our allies, and they're amazing men. And I know my friends support, how my friends supported me in my journey. So I know that there are so many supportive males who are, if they can think differently, if they know how to think differently, they just need to be educated. And education, not in that sense that, okay, this is, oh, you are a feminist and it's a shame, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not something that can hurt their male ego. It's something that they can be proud of. So that needs to come, and then that needs to change.
So, what you're saying, which is very interesting. Actually, we have so many questions. We can go on for a long time. This is always a passionate
Yeah.
subject, right? So, Zana, there's a question for you related, connected with what just Rumana right now said about education, etc. So, our very own Mukta Sharingpani says this, that Zana, is there another film in the making, one that offers a perspective, a voice on the perpetrators and how they become abusers and how they feel about themselves afterwards?
I'm not thinking anything right now about another film on that aspect. As I already put some part, right? Like I put Ajmal in there. Ajmal speaks from like, and then Sharmin's father talk. So I tried to incorporate those in this film. So I'm not thinking about making another film. But as Rumana said, and I think that it's because of the patriarchal upbringing, right? The way we were raised, like it's the individual family, the way we see that, yeah, my mother is doing everything and my father is just coming from work and just watching TV or like reading newspaper, right? So it's my mom's job. So if we keep seeing all this thing in the family, and we know that's what we are expected in our life, right? So it's the education in the family. It's not academic education we are talking about. It's the upbringing. It's when we see in the family that mother is asking both the daughter and son that, can you help in doing this, right? So it's not that only daughter is helping mom for preparing food or serving food and the son is playing. Instead, how mom is, that's how you teach, right? That you are a son. That doesn't mean that you are not going to help me in household chores or you are not going to help me in the kitchen. So if you teach your kids like that, instead of teaching your daughter all the time that you cannot do that just because you are a girl and you can do anything because you are a son, right? So if we raise our kids like that, that's how the change is going to happen, you
Absolutely.
know.
Absolutely. And in fact, I want to read out a comment from Protima Pandey, who's an amazing Maitri supporter. And then there's a question for Rumana before we wrap up. So Protima says, which is very interesting, this conversation about women's leadership, the laws that have been enforced, not being enforced, or they've been enacted, women in South Asian countries who've been leaders. So Protima says, and I have to look at my big monitor, my apologies for facing away. The most important thing for us to remember is that not having women at the helm is a disservice to our society. We cannot focus on the one woman who is possibly there because of her contacts, as Zana said. The fact that countries we think are backward elect women leaders is a sign that girls and women can be wherever they want, even in the highest office.
Mhm.
That representation is the reason for many social changes that do take place. Not fast enough, I agree. And yet I feel strongly that we cannot attribute the failure of system to women leaders. We don't hold men accountable the same way, right? Because we always say, okay, you're a woman in office and you need to do it. This is my editorial comment. Why are we expecting that women leaders can change centuries of patriarchy? The two are not unconnected, I believe. Protima, thank you so much for that amazing comment. And then I also want to say, uh, there's been lots of, by the way, compliments. Rumana, you are amazing. Okay, many people have said this. Zana, thank you so much. Many people have said for making this important film. But there's one question that I would love to end this discussion. And people don't leave, do the poll. We get our funding for these kind of programs. What message does Rumana have for women who are still at the cusp of whether they can leave an abusive relationship? And many thanks to the filmmaker and courageous women in the film. It warms my heart as the rest of it. But Rumana, what is your message to women who are on the cusp?
First of all, thank you so much for those lovely comments and thanks for telling me that because I guess this is from you all, I get the strength to keep on going. It's not easy, that my journey hasn't been easy, and then I know that in future it will not be easy, but the reason why I keep on going is because of the support and strength that I receive from all your love. So I guess my message to each one of those women who are suffering in silence, I want to tell them that each one of your lives are very, very important. Your life is always, it's a gift. You got a gift and you cannot waste it for anything or anyone. And think about it again. You have the full right to flourish and enjoy your life like everyone else. Don't think that your children or your child will grow up to be a good human being if you sacrifice your life by being in an abusive relationship. I made that mistake and then I had to pay a huge price to learn this lesson. So please don't sacrifice your lives. It's your lives are very, very valuable, and then you can do a lot to for your community. So don't find that your inner strength, and each one of you are very, very strong. And I know how much strength it takes to be in an abusive relationship and then continue with your regular life and then maintain that smile, that fake smile. So I know that I did that, but at that time I didn't know that it wasn't the right thing to do. And I thought that it would be a shame for me and for my daughter. but actually it's a shame for the perpetrators. So find your inner strength. And I love you all, and you are strong women.
So, Rumana, I guess we will be hearing of your next journey when you'll be on the Canadian Supreme Court, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Women need to rule the world, right? And Zana, so Oscar next.
Finger crossed.
Wait, this has been such a joy and an honor and privilege to talk to both of you. Thank you. I know if there was no pandemic, we would have met in person and hugged each other and said great things. But thank you for giving us your time, and thank you for sharing your hopes and your aspirations. And we wish you both amazing, amazing success as you go forward. A Supreme Court seat for you, Rumana, and an Oscar for you, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for attending. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks all the participants. There were amazing questions. It was very lovely and a great conversation. Thank you so much, all.
And please don't leave. Do the survey, which is popped up in front of you. Please, it's our reporting. You know, we would love, Zanaf, to know from you how we could support your film further. It would be great. We will, of course, share it on our social channels. It's on Facebook Live. We will promote it. But are there other things we as individuals can do?
As a filmmaker, my achievement is to reaching as many people as possible and to create awareness, right? That's the reason, to create awareness and to show the light at the end of the tunnel, to give the hope that if Rumana can do it, anyone can do it. As Rumana said, that find your inner strength. And what I feel like we all are way more stronger than we think. So I would love this film to reach everyone who can find their inner strength by watching Rumana, by watching Jasmine, Naima, and everyone, so that they understand that life is not just to, okay, it happened once, an accident happened, let's just live with that. No, we have only one life to live. And at the same time, I would like to say, to create awareness among those men, like, so that as we saw that Ajmal or Sharmin's father, they weren't aware. So the education is so important to keep them aware, to make them aware that this is absolutely wrong, right? So I feel like educated people would be most helpful, and to get out that message that this fight is not against men. This is a fight against patriarchy, the social upbringing, you know, the way that upbringing made us the way we think, right? So this fight is against that. And men, women, all together, we need to be in this fight. It's not men against women or women against men. We need to understand that.
Very, very true. And please convey our thanks to Katie and Lalita for having partnered with you in this, and really amazing. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Oh, and Zana has also put her Instagram account in the chat. Please do follow her at it's Insta at Zana, ZAANAAAA. There are 4 A's after that.
And you can follow Untying the Knot film on Facebook. And we have another website for intimate partner violence. There are a lot of information out there. It's mostly focused in Canada, but this was really helpful to get the knowledge, to understand what is abuse, what is control, what is love, as we South Asian always overlap love and control. So I guess that will be very educative if you guys check on that website.
All right. Thank you very much. And have a good evening, everyone. Take care.
Stay safe,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.